Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Peter Abraham. I am a registered nurse with experience in cardiology, long-term care, and extensively in hospice. If you're new to this channel, welcome. I'm glad that you're here. We have discussions I try to publish twice a week dealing in topics of grief, whether it's anticipatory grief or grief after losing somebody, being a hospice nurse, writing books about hospice, whether for caregivers or for hospice nurses or those who practice holistically and deal with different situations like combative patients, or how do I get my patient on their own to make a decision and move, which is going to be the subject for this topic, by the way, is making a decision and move, as well as the journey of being a semi-retired nurse entrepreneur. So if you're new here, again, welcome. If you like what you're seeing, comment, subscribe. In terms of the commentary, I'm a weird person, hopefully weird in a good way. I like having open dialogue and discussion and transparency. So maybe you have questions on what's it like to be a nurse, or I became a nurse in my 50s. Am I too old to become a nurse? Should I become a hospice nurse? I've been in this type of field. What do you do there? I'm open on these discussions. You're not going to ask a bad question. The only thing that sometimes gets frustrating is I get these messages, I can get you more views to your channel and stuff like this. And I don't mind everybody trying to earn a living, but I prefer a lot of natural methods versus that. I don't want to go down that rabbit trail. So in most episodes, I like starting off the episode is asking the question, what are you grateful for? And I go over what am I grateful for, looking at from the last time that we chatted. So I last published on Friday, February 28th, and I was just sharing on how grateful I am to God that at the time of that publishing, we already broke the record for the number of books sold in any one month. January was the number one month prior to 510, and I didn't think we'd ever have another January. And so March 1st, when I got up at 4 a.m. in the morning, I got out of my comfort zone that Saturday, I saw 595 books sold. Now, not just this book. This book comprised number one. I'd have to go back. Was it 180 to 200 of the books? But all the different books added up. Not every one of the books I've published sold even yet. But overall, 595 books published, the most to date. So thank you, God, for that. And then in terms of opportunities and move forward, make a decision, we're going to discuss some of that today, is some opportunities unfolded this week already that I didn't anticipate. This video is coming out late today because I had an opportunity with Teresa Sanderson. Teresa Sanderson has an organization to help nurses grow. Nurses Feed Your Young, and we were discussing towards the end of the episode, not all nurses are young in age. I became a nurse in my early 50s. Some of us become a nurse later in life. And it's not always about the physical age of the person. You could be a nurse for several decades. Like one of the nurses that came to the hospice nursing, one of the support groups out there on Facebook, was saying, I've been a NICU nurse for so many years, and I have an opportunity to become a hospice nurse. I believe all of us together should be encouraging and supporting one another and helping us bloom and to grow. So I'm grateful for any opportunity to help nurses bloom and to grow. So that was my story, and along with the other area of gratitude I mentioned, I got out of my comfort zone. I went to a pain management seminar in Cynthiana, Kentucky, and I got to meet all the speakers that were there, and it was way out of my comfort zone. Not only because I got up at 4 o'clock so I can get there on time, but I have to laugh when I got there. Molly, and thank you, Molly, if you're watching, said, when I saw that you're coming from the area of Kentucky where my wife and I live, she thought I was going to be staying overnight. I drove. I'd love to say it was a beautiful drive there, but it was pitch black for a good part of the journey. It was only the last 10 minutes that the sun's coming up. I did get to drive home in sunlight, but it was an adventure, and I learned a lot of things. I got an opportunity to meet a prominent, I didn't know at the time how prominent he was. Be careful when you meet people for the first time. You have no idea who they are. And you might be talking to either somebody high up or somebody who's down on their luck. And I don't mean luck in the physical sense or the spiritual sense. I do believe there is no such thing as luck. But somebody may be down and out, and you are going to be the opportunity to shine light on and into them. Not that we are the light, but you have an opportunity to make a difference in that person's life from the very first words that you say. So be kind, be encouraging, be uplifting to everyone that you meet. Kindness is free, it costs you nothing. So I got to meet Dr. Mike, just double checking, Dr. Mike Rankin, and he's a very prominent UK health doctor who was also a non-traditional. He was an engineer for a number of years of his career before he became a doctor. And we were talking about the struggle of Kentucky is extremely suffering from a nursing shortage, and is only going to get worse over the next couple of years before it gets better. And I was sharing with him, like, I am looking for part-time work as I'm writing books and looking at developing courses for nurses, but I'm also trying to find part-time, preferably hospice nurse, but I'm hoping for other cardiology and geriatrics. If it's 8 hours, 4-hour shift, an 8-hour shift, I'd even go as high as 10, but I'm not going to do 12. And we had a discussion on, the cost savings to the whoever's doing the hiring, whether it be a clinic or a hospital or a nursing facility. Not only do they need less staff if it's a 12-hour shift, think 2 people versus 3 or more, less parking lot, less administrative costs. But he did offer some encouragement. Keep an eye out on clinics that are looking for an 8-hour shift or even a 4-hour shift. So I am looking, and I do appreciate Dr. Mike Rankin who shared that. But this episode, moving on from the areas of gratitude, I was very grateful for that conference. I learned so much. Before I move on too far, make a decision and move, and here I am throwing in some delays. Talking about pain management to my fellow hospice nurses or any one of you that's listening that's a caregiver. The overriding factor from all the different speakers that were there, I'm going to point out 2. First and foremost, validate the feelings of the person you're listening to. Every doctor, there were 2 pain psychologists, including a doctor that drove from Philadelphia from Penn Medicine. I believe you. Validate their feelings. That helps you build rapport. It helps you build trust, and it shows that you care, and I hope you care. If you're in healthcare, I hope you care. So validate their feelings as part of active listening. And then the second thing as part of active listening is explore the situation. Part of what they were going over, doctor after doctor after doctor, when you do any type of assessment, and I know I'm guilty of this as a nurse, we love our focused assessments because they're very focused. They take less time because they're binocular, they're right in there, they're highly focused. they were saying probe deeper, explore further, look at the psychosocial. Is there smoking? Is there drinking? Go over other factors in a non-judgmental way. So I learned so much. I took pages of notes. They did case studies. That was the Kentucky Nursing Association. They did such a wonderful job. And for nurses who may be in Kentucky watching this, it was $20 for nurses, $25 if you were a physician going into this conference. That I will, once I get my certificate in, I did the evaluation yesterday, 5 continuing education credits, and they may have lost money from this presentation that they did, and it was so well done. So thank you, Kentucky Nursing Association. That's part of my appreciation, part of my gratitude. And my geeky nerd, I am now up to 36 continuing education credits for 2025. So Pennsylvania's done, Kentucky's done, and I'm still going on continuing education credits because I'm a geek. Now, in terms of making a decision and moving forward in faith of what may come from making that decision and move. Teresa Sanderson and I just shared, we just finished up, did a 2:30 Zoom call with her. It may not be on her channel for 2 to 3 weeks, maybe 4. Before that comes up on her channel. I'll include that in the description below. She's on LinkedIn and she's also on YouTube. I'll include both links. But she asked, in terms of being a nursing entrepreneur, if I had one word of advice to give my fellow nurses who, like they're doing bedside, or maybe they are at a clinic or hospice or whatever area of nursing you're at. I want to do something different. I don't want to burn out. I don't want to become jaded. And I know this is very easy for me to say. And I faced it from the other side, reminding myself, saying it to myself, make a decision, then move. But I make a decision and then move. It's the faith and holding on to that. And for me, that faith is in God. And walking in that and trusting in God in my case. But even if you don't believe in God, which I hope everyone has an opportunity to know Jesus, Lord, Savior, and King. But even if you don't, by making that decision and moving, and day by day, you won't know until you try. You don't know until you ask. And so to give you an example of that in my own life, I got a text on Monday out of the blue from Shelley Henry. She's the founder of the Amity Group. So anyone watching my channel, and hi Shelley if you're watching this, hi Adam, Shelley's husband, if you're watching this. If you're watching this channel, I love helping people bloom, and I love people who help others bloom. And Shelley and I have chatted via Facebook Messenger in the past. I don't remember if we've ever texted, but I got this text, hey, I got this opportunity to promote your nursing books, just out of the blue. And Shelley, she, again, founder of the Amity Group, she created these books for hospice documentation. This is her master bundle. They're pocket guides. This literally fits in your scrub pockets. I believe this too fits or comes darn close. But these are your field guides, and they're wonderful products. So I usually tell people asking what could I get to improve my documentation? To me, you got 2 choices, and I am biased. I do hope you buy mine. But if you don't buy mine, buy Shelley's. Either way, you're going to benefit. And some people have bought in both. They bought into the Shelley's and they bought mine. But that's there. But she reached out, and when I gave her a call, my initial thoughts is, I wonder how this is going to work. Is she going to be going to a conference and promoting my books? And from a point of view, and I'm being transparent here. These videos are recorded, but they're not edited. because I go from the standpoint, if I'm with a patient or a family or a doctor, I'm not editing, it's live. So I better become comfortable and good at it versus fearing it and try and use some form of crutches. And if you edit it, I'm not picking on you. But I'm going over in my head, if this is that, how do I work this with Amazon? Because Amazon has a lot of restrictions. But I gave her a call not knowing what to expect. And she said she is going to be speaking at the Alabama Hospice and Palliative Care Clinical Conference in Birmingham, Alabama. And she wanted to know if I would be a sponsor. That's a lot. To me, that's a twist. It's a good twist. So I want to be very careful as I say this. This is a twist. This is a good blessing twist. We're looking for sponsors. I think it'd be a good fit to sponsor this conference for $500. And that would involve a 10-minute reality turned out to be 15 minutes. Audio video that will get played between speakers. And I also wonder if you donate 5 or so of the books that you've written. Now, I want to cover for a moment how this integrates with some of what I've talked about in other episodes. When you who are watching this, every one of us, when we hear other people talking and we see other things happening, we have two choices. We're either going to see the blessing, what is good out of this, we're going to look for the negative. We're going to see what is good, we're going to look for the negative. The person who's negative is going to go to bait and switch. This is costing me. I'm giving stuff away. The one looking for the positive, the silver lining, and I'm looking this at from the silver lining standpoint, is several fold. And when I put up my hand, I literally didn't, this is not planned, this is not scripted. This is live recording. I love supporting my fellow nurses. So this is an opportunity for me to give back to an industry that I look from the perspective has benefited me. I know from, if you watch my very first episode, ageism, unvaccinated, patient advocacy, you could look, they burned you, and I can look at all the bad, or I could look at all the good. And hospice has been a blessing to me. I'm still trying to find part-time hospice nurses. I mentioned that just a few 5-10 minutes ago at the beginning of this episode, this discussion. But here now I can give back to the very industry that have blessed me. And I can help because one of the things Shelley brought out is in our space, there's only a handful of us supporting one another. And there's 3 to come to mind. And as I bring up the 3, I am going to get to me, and I'm not trying to brag. There's Barbara Carnes, who is the face, the living Florence Nightingale, the face and the voice predominantly to the caregivers. Yes, she benefits nurses, but it's mainly to family and caregivers for reducing their stress and anxiety of how dying is so natural. And she helps us nurses too, because when she's calming the families down, that's reducing our anxiety as well. There's Shelley Henry of the Amity Group, who is out there speaking, and she does the hospice nursing survey every year, and she's speaking to hospice leaders. Here's what manageable caseloads are. And here's what you need. This is how you save money by having manageable caseloads. You're not making more money by having us hospice nurses having more and more cases. Like at one point in time, I had 29. And I know those of you who are hospice nurses watching this who have been in your 30s for the number of cases. That's not good for the patient, the family, the care. That's good for nobody. And it doesn't necessarily increase profit. So Shelley Henry from the Amity Group is out there, one of our voices. And she also, again, has her documentation books. And she also does have other products. I don't have her tag bag for that. But then there's also me, where I have 17 books right now at 17 going over for hospice nurses, the documentation, for eligibility, for how to prognose, to know how quickly, how do we need to go with this, for recertifications, how do we keep eligible people on, for care planning, how do I do the care plans, for HOPE that has to be implemented by October 1st, 2025, for dementia admissions, which by the way, Medicare has already published that they actually save money, thousands upon thousands of dollars, if dementia patients can stay on hospice longer. But then there's the conundrum of how do you keep them on longer in an ethical way, in a legal way, without falsifying anything. And so this book gives the information on how to do it right. How do you focus on quality of life? Because it's not always about adding meds, but what meds. And I go over both the American method with the Beers criteria, the European method, which I prefer. I'm not European, but they have it right with the start-stop gap, as well as the potentially inappropriate meds. For those nurses looking to come from the hospital and other settings, nursing students, what does a complete hospice visit look like to do it right, to reduce calls to the triage, to increase patient satisfaction scores? There's a methodology for doing it right. How do I plan my visit frequencies? There's a methodology for doing it right. Oh my word, I got a caseload that's hard to manage, even when it's the appropriate caseload. How do I have the most FaceTime with my patients and families? My drive time, there has to be an easier way without cutting the wrong corners. So I go over time secrets that have worked over a number of years. How do I do that? As well as coming close to the end of the nursing books, conversations at the end. How do I have those hard conversations with the family? Whispers of Time. The only book I can't get in hardcover format because of Amazon rules. But this is very similar to the Prognosis book, but the timeline. And then one book where I'm still waiting on the author copy, The Conditions of Participation. But I have 17 books out there for hospice nurses, so I'm one of the 3 people that are out there that are very active. And when I say 3, I'm not the only one. There's others out there as well. So if you are one of them helping support and encourage and uplift, and I did not mention you, please, I am not trying to lift 3 up and put you down, and comment there, or my email, peter@2abraham.com. Send me an email, and maybe we can get together and I can uplift the work that you're doing for hospice nurses, because that's not what this video or discussion is about. But Shelley reaches out, and I'm hearing this. Am I able to do a $500 donation? Not donation, sponsorship's the right word. And could I give 5 or 6 of my books? And we'll do a 10-minute audio video promo. And so I'm working with them, and it came today. I'll be responding today with the funding. But it's an opportunity, and by the way, and I'll include some information in this if you're looking to sponsor as well. But there's a sponsorship opportunity, and that's Shelley Henry, by the way, who's a wonderful person who's really promoting the industry. But I'm doing the video promo for that $500. And you talk about making a decision and move. From a point of view, I am unemployed. I'm not receiving unemployment. I'm not receiving Social Security. The only income I have are the book royalties. My wife's part-time job, her Social Security, And this is not a pity party, uh, but God's provision. And while every month is, except for one, is beating subsequent months, I'm not in charge of who buys. March started off with a slam, and then for the first 2 days, first three, and then yesterday, today. Actually, we had three slow days. This is the sorry, as am I oriented? This is March 5th, so 5 days in, and 2 days have been fantastic, and 3 days a little bit on the slow side. I can't predict what the future is going to be for the month or the year. That's part of the scary side. But my faith is not in fear. My faith is in Christ Jesus, my Lord, Savior, and King. And so I made a decision when I was on the phone with Shelley. I didn't say I'll get back to you. I made a decision. I'm going to do this. I did let my wife know because it is our finances. And from a point of view, I know it could argue, you didn't check with your wife. And most of the time I do. But I also felt that this is something I needed to do. And I know, and I don't want to go too far down this rabbit trail, my wife and I tithe. And we do tithe as much as we can pre-tax. So we're already giving 10% pre-tax. And so $500 is a lot. That's a lot of money. But part of the make a decision and move, especially with doing giving the books as well, is I'm going to trust in God first and foremost. I'm also going to trust in Shelley. I'm going to trust in the Alabama Nursing and Palliative Care Organization. I'm going to trust in the nurses at this conference that something good's going to come out of this. And so what I did is I had already sent Shelley, if you're watching this, I already communicated with you via email that you should get I sent 5 books from the hospice side. I sent 1 book from the holistic nursing series side. This book, by the way, instead of the Mastering Dementia in Missions, mainly because while I do believe in, that's one author copy. Do I have it? Oh, yes, I do. Oh, my word, I don't want to take too much of your time hunting for the book. But I went with this because the Mastering Dementia in Missions only focuses on those that are eligible for hospice. So it focuses on knowing when they're eligible. The catch-22 with that, and I knew this when I wrote the book, there's the danger side, the catch-22. What about the other side? Like I don't mean to brag, but I am very good with dementia patients, both with dealing with them in person as well as staging. Even if they don't have Alzheimer's, there's a way to stage. So this covers the whole spectrum. And I figured I'd rather have the nurse receiving this be as abundantly and fully equipped to deal with that. And then maybe she buys the dementia admission book. But at least she'll have the foundation from here to do wonderful. And I did send over, for those who like Canva, I am not an associate with Canva, but I did 8.5 by 11 mini, I guess you can call it posters versus mini posters, with a picture of the book as well as a 130-word description of why it'll benefit the nurse to read the book and how it helps the patient, because that's what matters most of all. But I made a decision, and I'm moving forward with that decision. The same way with Teresa Sanderson, who on Monday also of this week, talk about like stuff coming out of the blue. I get in a LinkedIn message from Teresa. I'd like to feature you. You know, okay, why not? And we're going to end shortly on this one. They're coming up to the last 5 to 10 minutes if you're watching this. Part of make a decision and move is I am looking at turning the books, not directly, because you cannot directly turn a book into a course from the standpoint of this is the book. If I tried to turn this in a course page by page, this takes hours to days or so to weeks, depending on how fast or slow you read. I'm looking at how do I create courses, and this is where I might be involving a business relationship with myself and Teresa Sanderson and myself and Nina Hart, or both, because I have to look at, do I do continuing education credits, and do I do them just in Kentucky and Pennsylvania? That's where I have my Kentucky's a compact state, so from a standpoint, I have a license that works in 41 states. In Pennsylvania, that's kind of working on it. They're in a weird position. But even with that, I was sharing with Teresa, here I am out there in several hospice and end-of-life groups, and somebody's already offering hospice documentation courses to nurses. Who am I? Well, I don't have I have a complete answer to who am I, and I'm not trying to be funny. I'm beautifully and wonderfully made in the image of God. And I have value to God that his son died for me and he died for you. But on the other token, I'm still going to move forward with these courses. I'm still doing research on platforms and how do I have it in manageable chunks. Today I was working in a breakdown of looking at how can I present this from a symptom-driven compliance perspective, and I came up with a 3-hour course. I still don't know if 3 hours is a little bit too much. But you can get hit with stuff in life and start doubting yourself. Oh, there's already somebody out there. Who am I? Well, you're somebody who could present it from a different point of view. You're somebody who might be able to price it differently. You're somebody who could present it differently. So to give you an example of that, as I'm coming up to this close, and I love Shelley dearly from a platonic sense. If you have the ability to get her books, get her books. These are wonderful, and she does give examples, and they are unbelievably concise, and what makes them wonderful too, they're color coded. So if you need things in a snap, that's what I like when I had this out in the field, and that was long before I wrote my books. They're color coded, and this book goes into again, concise and detail, and it's laminated. So that's another beauty for this. If you're having it out in the field, anyone out in the field, you could be. I don't mean to gross people out, but you could be vomited on, spit at, stuff spill, laminated. Shelley, wonderful, wonderful. But who am I to write something to compete? But I don't view myself as a competitor against Shelley. I view this as complementary to Shelley because I'm presenting it in a different way. I tend to be, if you're watching these videos, I tend to be detail oriented. Well, I need something concise. I need examples. So this gives you an example here. If it catches the focus, like here's an example of effective comparison. And so I give that, and I give tables. I give example of objective and subjective language. So I go over admissions. I go over IDT notes. And Tanya Frazier, if you're watching this, hi Tanya. I know you said you're going to get back to me about an easier way to teach about IDT. I go over about pitfalls. So I go over a lot of detail about how to help you master it. So you're in the midst of it. I got to get it done now. I'm going to be blunt. Shelley with the color coding and the easy to find stuff, you need to find it now. That's going to be a value proposition. Shelley might be able to throw in some more of why hers is valuable. I want to uplift everybody. But if you want to learn how do I critically think in the first place, so that once I master this, I don't need to refer to either of these. Or I don't need the three. I can come to them from time to time, but once I learn how to critically think, to master the thought process behind it, I don't need to carry any of that. That's my goal. That is my goal. That's why some of my books are called like Mastering the Eligibility. How do I master How do I master it so that I don't need the LCD guidelines? In fact, part of the reason that a doctor or Andy, I don't want to kill his last name, promote this book, Dr. Andy promoting this book, is in this book, I'm trying to teach my fellow hospice nurses, here are the tools for you to start thinking critically, not that like you don't have the critical thinking as a nurse, but here's how to bolster that. Here's how to empower you to do it far better so that you're not carrying around the book. And yes, it's 6x9, that it could be in a backpack or your scrubs, depending on the size of the pocket. But we're all trying to empower you. So part of this make a decision and move, and great, I lost my page, but make a decision and move, and then have faith, is we have to where I'll end is two things. This goes back to when I talked to Shelley. You have two ways to take things. When Shelley called, I could have said, she texted me, I have this opportunity to promote your books, and oh, by the way, would you do a $500 sponsorship? I could have taken that on that phone call. I could have taken it the negative way, which would have, especially if I responded negatively and cut her off, and that would not do nothing for the relationship. Or I could have taken it in the positive way that it was presented. Because to me, Shelley's an amazing person. She presented a positive opportunity. And so I made a decision to move forward with this. And if you're watching this, I'm going to give you an example that hits home. And I don't know, Rebecca, you might have watched this from the beginning, and I don't know if you're still with us. Rebecca is one of my subscribers. And I've been trying to help Rebecca through a number of things, keep her dad and her whole family in prayer. But we've been talking about anticipatory grief and grief. So make that decision and move. The visits to your father are hard. The visits for anyone who has a loved one in a hospice, the visits are hard. Whatever you're doing is hard. Writing that check is hard. Giving somebody a credit card is hard. Getting up in the morning can be hard. But if you don't make that decision and move forward in faith, you'll never know the outcome. The answer will be no. The answer will be negative. Look for that silver lining. Look for the positive. Make a decision and move forward into the light. And if you have questions, comment below. I'm not going to bite your head off. I want to support. I want to encourage. I want to uplift. Thank you for watching. God bless and bye.